I'd like to welcome everybody. Yeah, have a seat, everybody have a seat. But I start in a few seconds, you know what I'm talking about? You'll see these haters quickly, swiftly, it's a spiritual thing. Beware of miscues, we're all new to the spiritual thing. I'd like to welcome everybody to the knowledge of the truth. Just digest it a few seconds, you will see what this truth do. Watch your wallet in your pocket, some of these jakes will get your dough jack. Unless you have faith or catch a case, only way you get your dough back. Everybody wearing fringes ain't your nigga, I'm just saying. Yeah, he preaches, yeah, he teaches, but go research what he's saying. You may find he just a nigga, another nigga chasing money, hungry mother. Ooh, hold up, look.
My mind goes out sometimes. You will feel like knocking off a block sometimes. Wanna go get a gun and bust shots sometimes. Oh, you find out you's an Israelite. So you find out you's an Israelite. Found out that you're chosen, trying to change your life. Found out about the promise on the other side, yeah. Oh, you found out you's an Israelite. Yeah, yeah. Oh, you found out you's an Israelite.
I think the moment they love you is when you reppin' they colors. I think they love you, but how could you separate so easy from your brother, your ace, who you allowed in your space? The realest nigga in your circle, hands down, no debate. Look, it's a spirit when one lies and you hear it and pass it out to be true. Cause the speaker you respect the fear him. I want everyone to hear this. It's a must you guard your spirit, cause this leaven is a killer and it only take a little bit. Either Ak or Ops, and Ops is a dime a dozen, so is you Ak or not?
What you mean by that?
Look,
my mind goes out sometimes. You will feel like knocking off a block sometimes. Wanna go get a gun and bust shots sometimes. Oh, you find out you's an Israelite. So you find out you's an Israelite. Found out that you're chosen, trying to change your life. Found out about the promise on the other side, yeah. Oh, you found out you's an Israelite. Yeah, yeah. Oh, you found out you's an Israelite.
he who guards his spirit is he who keeps his spirit. People lose their spirit, not knowing they lost their spirit. Cause that demon they talking to, they thinking it is the spirit. First it breaks their spirit, after it takes their spirit. Tax you for extra baggage like you flying with Spirit. It's the demons that entered the vessel. And if you're special, the most evilest things you can think of, I bet it to let you do it and have no regrets. Reprobate at his best. Love was a pleasure more than God. Hold us what beats in your chest. Hit you with a pacemaker. Hold up.
My mind goes out sometimes. You will feel like knocking off a block sometimes. Wanna go get a gun and bust shots sometimes. Oh, you find out you's an Israelite.
Yo, Shalom family. Our praises to Kahi, the Ruach Kadash, the Holy Spirit. Our praises to Enoch, he said. That's Ahayah Christ said. The great I am loving kindness. Our praises to most of the Lamb, our minister of forgiveness, YASHAYA, our Savior. Welcome to another installment of Clear Eyes, No Visine. We are back in the Remembrance of Enoch series. All through these accounts in the book of Remembrance of Enoch, the great Enoch has been dividing. He divided the watchers so we can separate the wicked watchers from the righteous ones. Enoch divided the waters to guarantee everyone would be born with a conscience. We know right from wrong. We went through both of those divisions in the episode titled Dividing the Sons of Heaven. In this series, the Remembrance of Enoch series, right? Enoch divided the days. He gave us the calendar. We have our Enoch's True Calendar playlist. We are breaking that down one holy day at a time. Enoch divided mankind using the sanctity of marriage. We just went through that a few episodes back in this series. In this Remembrance of Enoch series, right? Y'all go back and check out this series if you are new to the channel. For the next few episodes, we're going to learn of a division we didn't learn about in the Christian church. A division we have not learned about in the Israelite community. Mormons, I don't think they teach this to y'all either, right? This is that understanding of the ancients that maybe some of the aboriginal cultures held on to. Tonight, we start going into the account of Enoch dividing the earth. We're going to find out what that means for us as a people when we get through these episodes, right? And why it's important we implement this knowledge now. All this information we are getting, I'm told when I go through it, that it's for Israel first. Why? Because we were chosen by the Most High to bring this truth to the world in these tribulation times. Salvation and redemption. That's what this information means for Israel first, and also everybody else who gravitates to this knowledge, right? It means salvation and redemption. Now let me go get a precept so we can all be on one accord when I say this information is first for Israel. I didn't say only, I said first, like first and foremost. Let's get that precept. We're going to the book of Remembrance of Moses, chapter 1, verse 53. That's the book of Remembrance of Moses, chapter 1, verse 53, right? This is Moses speaking right here. Christ. Moses is speaking to Ben-Elim, Gokuhuram III, right? Let's read verse 53. Read.
And upon seeing all this, my spirit wilted. But the Lord said, be not dismayed, because I have bequeathed the star of elder upon Jacob, who is my servant Israel. And the star of elder is the elder Urim, through which all the Urim of the righteous have looked during all the course of the earth. And all truth brought by Urim is firstly intended to empower Israel from the first Urim to the last.
If it ain't script, y'all, it's just lip. Huh? The information given by Urim is first intended to empower Israel. Christ said that. This information is power, family. So if you are new to this channel, don't just throw this information to the wayside. At least prove it wrong thoroughly. And when you do that, please show me your thorough analysis of proving it wrong. You did. Now, you ain't gonna get no debate. I just love to hear it, right? Man, y'all mash on the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you have yet to do so. Hit the bell so you are notified every time we drop something new, right? Yo, look. August 31st, y'all. August 31st. My wife and I are back in concert in Garland, Texas. Y'all check out that flyer. Look at that. Keith Wallace will be in the building. Bars. I haven't performed with that brother since the No Division concert in Kansas City way back. Looking forward to it, y'all. Truth Music Awards Show, August 31st in Garland, Texas at the Granville Art Center. Man, get your tickets today at thekeyisme.org. That's thekeyisme.org. Man, y'all get y'all tickets today, fam. Man, we turned up on, what was that, June 1st, June 2nd? Mm-hmm. Man, it was crunk. So the Father giving us another opportunity. We're going to do it again. August 31st, man, y'all come through. Y'all come through, get your tickets today, man. thekeyisme.org. So watch this. This past July 11th, family, was the Feast of Tranquility. I say, y'all, this past July 11th was the Feast of Tranquility, a holy day on Enoch's true calendar, right? Look, so we doing a repentance over here in RealJudah, right? So we about to be focused on the next holy day and everything that we do, like even in our lessons. So all the holy days are 50 days apart, and the next holy day coming up is on, I believe it was August 30th, right? August 30th is iCards Day, right? August 30th is iCards Day, man. We got a discussion on our Enoch's True Calendar playlist on iCards Day already, man. Y'all go check that out. But all through this month, these 50 days, these 7 weeks, right? We're going to be in the spirit, really getting in the spirit of iCards Day. Really trying to hone in, even through these lessons, on what iCar was bringing out as well. Why that day is important, so we can get into the spirit, because walking in the calendar is very, very important. And we're going to see that today. That's what I'm speaking on, that because that's what part of this lesson is today, right? So we'll keep going. Let's get to it though. It's enough talking. Let's get to it, right? But y'all know how we jump it off. If you are new to the channel, we're going to show y'all right quick. We're going to Revelation 3:18. That's Revelation 3:18. Let's read that.
I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich in white raiment, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear. And anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see.
And anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see. Clear eyes, no Visine, family. Let's get it. We are in the book of Remembrance of Enoch, chapter 14, verse 1. Y'all get y'all books, man. If y'all ain't got these books, y'all can get the PDFs as well. They're on the Brotherhood of Christ Church website, man. Y'all go check that stuff out. Get the books. Make sure you got it for yourself. Powerful information, man. Powerful information. We are in the book of Remembrance of Enoch, chapter 14, verse 1. Let's read.
And it came to pass that when the Lord ended his instructions to Enoch and the listeners regarding the division of days, the listeners were filled with the presence of the Lord, and they were struck with wonder and gratitude at the blessings that were bestowed upon the righteous people of Maine.
They were filled with the presence of the Holy Spirit, right? The calendar ain't no light thing. So y'all, the calendar is very important. The ancients understood that they were struck with wonder, gratitude at the blessing of receiving the calendar, right? Read.
And they all were filled with questions, and they spoke with most of the lamb for the rest of the day, concerning the manner in which their people could use their holy days to comfort, Enoch said.
The holy days were meant to comfort, Enoch said. There's a spiritual power we receive when we walk with the Most High. The Lord had Enoch divide the days so the righteous could walk with the Most High every day. That is the gift of life, to walk through life in agreement with your family. That's what Enoch said once. He wants us to knowingly share every moment of our life with him. Christ was teaching them these things. Most of the Lamb, Hamashiach, Jesus, YASHAYA, or YASHAYA, right? Yahweh, Yeshua, him. He sat with these men and taught them the holy days. Y'all go check out our Enoch's True Calendar series, right? Y'all go check out the episodes before this, right? And see what Moses was doing for these brothers at this time. Let's keep reading, verse 2.
And they were very intent in their conversations, for they spoke together as ones who knew of the importance of the task which lay before them. And they saw the division of days to be the means whereby the people of the holy city could be rich companions to Enoch, said. And their new reckoning of days, they could walk with him in the way to continuously comfort him according to the tenderness of his heart.
Y'all, let's read that again, verse 2.
And they were very intent in their conversations, for they spoke together as ones who knew of the importance of the task which lay before them. And they saw the division of days to be the means whereby the people of the holy city could be rich companions to Enoch, said.
The holy days are a direct connection to the Father. The enemy doesn't want us to walk in the proper calendar. It's just straight facts. The calendar is another means of protection for the holy people of God, right? Read.
And by their new reckoning of days, they could walk with him in the way to continuously comfort him according to the tenderness of his heart.
Enoch said is a God of loving kindness that wishes the best for everything. Tenderhearted. That's how the ancients viewed the Most High. Verse 3.
And it came to pass that in the midst of these discussions, Moses slipped quietly away unnoticed. And Enoch and the listeners continued to confer together into the night, and they remained there. And they remained where they were for some days, pondering the richness of the treasure of the division of days, and by the power and urgency of the Spirit that was in them, they could discern the value of the holy days, both their people and to Enoch, said.
By the power and the urgency of the Spirit that was in them. The ancients fed their spirit daily, so their spirit had power. But they were not complacent either. That's reproval when I read that. They were not complacent either. Tomorrow is not promised. Man, it ain't promised, y'all. So they had an urgency in their spirit. Those are little nuggets right there. When I read it, I just see them little nuggets. Our time on this earth is short, family. Very short. It's urgent that we walk in the spirit right now. Not next year after we put up 100K. Not in 6 months after you and your significant other get married. No, right now. It's urgent. The Messiah wants us to break bread. He wants to break bread with us, right? He knocking. He said, you hear me knocking? Let me in. Just because he ain't knocking hard don't mean it ain't urgent. Huh? Enoch and the powerful brothers around him had a power. They had power and urgency of spirit so they could discern the importance of the holy days for the people. And Enoch, he said, they stayed there for several days riding in the spirit, chewing on the new meat Moses left with them. And Christ just slid up out of there, right? He just slid up out. They ain't even notice he left. How? Moses must have been just like one of the other brothers in there, you know what I'm saying? Intense like they was intense. Excited like they was excited. He must have just perfectly joined with them so completely that he could slip off and them not even know he left. Huh? Moses? Christ wasn't the focus. Enoch said was. Let that marinate. Verse 4.
And I saw that these listeners who walk with the Lord almost daily were present at the birth of Ahayah in the lives of men and in the midst of creation.
Ahayah is the name of the calendar. The calendar is an Aaron Kodeshi. The calendar is alive. She is a holy watcher. Ahayah is her name. Let's start verse 4 over.
And I saw that these listeners who walk with the Lord almost daily were present at the birth of Ahayah in the lives of men and in the midst of creation. For before this day there was no concept of measuring the passing of time. Neither was there any idea of counting numbers, nor was there any thought nor practice of a people sharing specific days of the year in common. And the prospect of sharing together the memorable days of Enoch, said, in order to comfort him, was exciting to them, and the anticipation of it filled their souls with joy.
This was major. Now there could be wedding anniversaries. We all have our special personal days that we may memorialize every year, right? The calendar allows us to remember those moments intimately, just like we have those types of days. Those are what the holy days are, the Enoch said, right? These holy days spiritually connect us to Enoch said. They are very important, right? Let's keep reading verse 5.
And one among them was a listener who was called Akoni. And she reported that it had been prophesied at her birth that it was part of her vision to influence to see that the Lord had companions.
That was the way of the ancients. They would prophesy over their children at their birth. The righteous would. The Spirit can give us insight on the creative purpose of our children. We have been discontinued from our spiritual heritage. So this sister named Akoni or Achoni, who was a listener, was said at her birth that part of her vision was to influence the ecosystem, right? Her vision was to influence the ecosystem she was a part of, to make sure the Lord had companions, right? So that's something that we pick up, another little nugget, a culture heritage of our people, that when our babies were birthed in the world, brought into the world, our families, our ancient forefathers and foremothers would get in the spirit and really try to understand the spiritual power of that child's life and name them accordingly and raise them up accordingly, right? So this sister had a very powerful vision put on her to help make sure that Moses had companions, ones who would follow the Lamb wherever he would go, right? Very interesting. Read.
And this woman went out alone after the discussions to praise Moses for his kindness and revealing the division of days to them. And when these things became known to the people, the people began to teach one another and their children how to count, and they began to measure the weeks of the seasons.
This is what first Enoch was showing us. You know, Enoch, like the translation by R.H. Charles, right? We have to try our best to read the ancient writings from the proper perspective. You dig? Watch this. When we read First Enoch, like the luminaries part, when we read that from the perspective that they had no custom of counting days before receiving the calendar, no understanding of when the day started. First Enoch was written to measure the weeks of a year. They were counting out how many weeks was in a year, right? To measure the weeks of a season. They was trying to count all this this many weeks in a season, right? 91 days in a season. They were counting it out to measure the days of the moon cycle. So when you got that moon cycle, they're counting it out. This is what the moon cycle looked like. They learned how to count. It was a new thing. They were trying to count everything. They were trying to get to know their Kodeshi. They wanted to measure the weeks of the cycle, the sun cycle. They were strengthening the relationship that they had with their ecosystem, right? Now ones could have a deeper relationship with the Holy Watchers, Amethiel, the moon, and with the Holy Watcher, Oriel, the sun. Shapua. That's what they were showing us in First Enoch when we look at it from the proper perspective. Enoch was showing us how the Ur Kodeshi worked together to bring us an understanding of time. Right? But First Enoch is an incomplete record. I said First Enoch is an incomplete record. So a book like the book of Remembrance of Enoch comes and fills in some things for us, right? It corrects some misunderstandings for us, right? So the ancients began to teach their children how to count and deal with the calendar brought forth by Enoch and the listeners who were with him. Y'all get that? Verse 6.
And it came to pass that as I looked with Urim, I saw a curious thing among the righteous, for they were not inclined to hide the knowledge of these things from the wicked. And further, they supposed that all of that which was the foundation of the days of holiness came from the first great 70 among the righteous, which was a matter wholly ignored by the wicked.
The righteous didn't even think to hide these things from the wicked. Why? They figured that the righteousness of the calendar came from the first great 70. What was the first great 70? Early in this series, we read that in the first 7 generations, all righteousness and all wickedness was established. Sides were picked. See, nothing new under the sun, right? The righteous chose righteousness and the wicked chose wickedness. And the earth was divided that way, right? The righteous was with the righteous and the wicked was with the wicked. With the exception of the righteous ones who were slaves intermingled with the wicked, right? So because they understood the calendar came from the righteous side of that first great 70, and the great 70 was something the wicked didn't even think about, they wasn't trying to hear about holy things. The people of Ma'in, ancient Zion, saw no reason to hide the division of days from the wicked. You see that? That's what that was saying right there. Verse 7.
And they also knew that all of the holiness of their memorable days arose out of the day of the measure of Milu, wherein the lives of the righteous first began to be given to most of the land.
The righteous understood, and we also need to understand that the holiness of the holy days, all the holiness of the holy days start with the first holy day, the measure of Milu's day. Because on Milu's day, we dedicate ourselves to the Lord. That's why the Passover is the night before Milu's day. In our Passover episode a few weeks back, we saw that Moses and the few Israelites who would dedicated themselves to the Lord. That sacrifice was unto repentance. So that's how the year starts concerning the holy days, with Milu's day, where we dedicate ourselves to the Lord. And all the holy days roll off of that. There's no rolling without the first holy day, y'all. Right? Read.
And the wicked have no inclination whatsoever to submit themselves, either a little or without reserve, to their vengeful God.
To their what?
To their vengeful God.
To their vengeful God. Don't let the enemy give us their God, y'all. Real talk, man. We have a God of loving kindness. Go back to where it started talking about the wicked.
And the wicked have no inclination whatsoever to submit themselves, either a little or without reserve, to their vengeful God.
The wicked have no thought to submit themselves either a little bit or without reserve to their vengeful God. Read.
But rather, They would only act in his name after measuring out for themselves honor and rich rewards and an acceptable standing before their fellows. And they would only speak openly of their God and think to be seen to act together with him if it brought them something desirable.
They didn't, man, y'all, they don't rock with their God through the good, bad, and ugly. We are reading about the original Zion and the difference between how they operated and how the wicked around them operated. So when I read this, I have to really take a good look at myself and judge myself, not but what I think, but by my actions though. For real, right? In those times, which category would I fall in? The righteous or the wicked? The original Zion ain't have part-time Christians, lukewarm Israelites. Nah, early in this chapter, it said that listeners walk with God almost every day, doers of the word, praying without ceasing, including the Lord in all of their decisions. But for the wicked, it was not so. They just shouted out their God when they wanted some kind of reward, right? Right? When they won some kind of reward, they only called on their God when they needed something, right? When they was in some kind of trouble, they was scared. That's it. Let that marinate. Verse 8.
And I also saw that this day of instruction concerning the division of days occurred 26 days before the day of the celebration of Ikar, which was to be their first holy day to celebrate, upon establishing the division of days among their people.
So the first holy day the people of Enoch celebrated was Ikar's day. Y'all see that? And that's the holy day that's coming up next. On August 30th, Ikar's day. That was the first holy day that Enoch and his people celebrated. They didn't get it at the beginning of the year. So when they started, it was Ikar's day. But don't trip though, because Malu's day, Enoch was alive for. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna see about that. We're gonna talk. So he was there for that as well. They celebrated Malu's day as well. They just didn't know they was doing it, right? So people of Enoch, their first whole day they celebrated was Ikar's day, right? And like I said, we dealt with Ikar's day in our Remembrance of Enoch series. So Ikar's day was the first holy day celebrated in Ma'in, ancient Zion. Read verse 9.
And the listeners returned home and began to immediately instruct all of the people in these matters, after staying 4 days in the place of instruction. And it was in this way that the people of the Lord spent 22 days in preparation to begin to undertake the celebration of their very first holy day together. However, they were not aware of these numbers.
What does that mean? Well, 22 is a holy number. We can go through its significance one day soon, right? Enoch and his listeners received a calendar 26 days before Ikar's day, right? They stayed for 4 days afterwards, decompressing from the major spiritual event, right, that had occurred. Makes sense, right? Which is also another one of our ancient customs, by the way, right? When something powerful happens, an angel appeared to somebody, the Mozart appeared to somebody, that person who got that experience usually chills out for 4 days, right? They usually take 4 days to pray and meditate after a spiritual encounter, right? Before sharing the information given to them, to the other people, or to their people, right? So Enoch and his listeners stayed for 4 days and then went back to their respective villages and prepared for Ikar's day for 22 days. That 22 days was righteous elements, spiritual power put on that first holy day to be celebrated by the people of Ma'in, Zion, right? Moses was very intentional on what day he told Enoch to come speak to him concerning the calendar, right? Verse 10.
And it came to pass that after all was ready, they called all the people together and instructed them. And they departed to their various settlements to observe the day of the celebration of Ikar. And after these things, the people of Ma'in all conferred together, and they determined together with one mind.
With what?
With one mind.
With common consent. Read.
And they determined together with one mind how they would begin to set in place and observe to keep fully the division of days. And in all these things, the son of Adah was the chief spokesman for the listeners.
We read about Adah in 2 different episodes in the series. She was the sister who was kidnapped on her wedding day. Those episodes was titled The Origins of Polygamy and The Two Religions Part 1. I believe is the second one, right? So Ahayah, her son, was the chief spokesman for the listeners, right? All she went through, she was getting blessings on blessings on blessings. Now her children were starting to lead righteous lives. Moses had promised that to her, right? But that's another story, right? We will really be dividing deeper into her account, y'all, for real, in a new series, which Father willing will start soon, right? After we complete the Remembrance of Enoch series. Y'all stay tuned for that, for real. Let's keep reading.
And I saw that when the multitude was assembled and receiving instruction, the son of Ahayah, who was called Cain, began to recite to them that all of the holy days of the division of days begin with the holiness of the day of the measure of Milu. And he said that all of the power of the rest of the holy days of the year that are to be shared with Enoch, he said, begin with the example of Milu in giving her life to Motza.
Wow. What an honor. You feel that? What did he say about Milu's day?
And he said that all of the power of the rest of the holy days of the year that are to be shared with Enoch, he said, begin with the example of Milu in giving her life to Motza.
Milu was alive when this was said. Milu was alive to see her actions memorialized forever, right? Her actions are also tied very closely to Israel, right? I believe Moses joined the Passover with a Milu's day. Milu was and is a very powerful sister. And her dedication to most of the land will always be an example to the world. Milu was Ahayah's wife. Ahayah is Enoch's son. Powerful couple. Let's keep reading. Verse 12.
And in the midst of those who were assembled, Milu was listening, and she fell to the earth, being overcome with joy, that she could be the means of blessing her lovely one. And also the people of Mawin and Ahayah carried her home, and all of her children called her blessed. And they ministered to her until she regained her strength. And this woman, who was the mother of many children, walked with Motza the lamb, and the two of them rejoiced together. And I saw that the people of Ma'in henceforth considered her to be the elder mother of the division of days. And it was known by them that her spirit would someday dwell in the soul of Ahayah, and the two of them would inhabit the light of Enoch, he said, together.
This stuff is heavy, family, right? Milu was overcome with joy, not because she was receiving glory, no, but because she was able to be a vessel used to bless her lovely one, most of the land, Christ. That's the kind of relationship and love she had for the Lord. What was known about the spirit of Milu? Read that again.
And it was known by them that her spirit would someday dwell in the soul of Ahayah, and the two of them would inhabit the light of Enoch, he said, together.
The people knew that the spirit of Milu would someday dwell in the soul of Ahayah, who was the Era Kodeshi, known as the Enoch calendar, right? After Milu passed on, she would do works in the forestation, working with the calendar some way. She would dwell in the soul of Ahayah. There's a lot we got to learn about spiritual things, family. You did. Let's keep reading though. Verse 14.
And it came to pass that after these events, the people prepared diligently for their first holy day, by making vessels for the Lord to eat upon when he ate with them.
They made vessels for the Lord to eat on when he ate with them, right? When they ate with them. Ben-Elim saw what they looked like in Urim doing this, right? And out there in the Iowa community, they try their best to do what Enoch and the rest of the people of Ma'in, ancient Zion, did, right? They try to do it the way they did it. So they made little plates and cups made out of soapstone. It's pretty cool. But they did it for real though, right? I made a plate and a cup for everybody in my family. So what we do on that particular holy day, what we eat with Enoch, he said, and remember y'all, Ikar Day is coming up. This is what you do on Ikar's Day, right? This is how you eat with the Most High, right? So what we do on a particular holy days, what we eat with Enoch, he said, we put a small portion of food on the plate and a small amount of whatever we are drinking into a little cup, right? And we put it in a sacred fire, and the sweet savor go up to the Lord, right? Look, I can see some of y'all faces What we out there in the wilderness doing, huh? Let's see if we can go find some precepts, some scriptural backing on these actions, right? So what we're gonna go to Leviticus chapter 2 verse 9. That's Leviticus chapter 2 verse 9. Read.
And the priest shall take from the meat offering a memorial thereof, and shall burn it upon the altar. It is an offering made by fire, of a sweet savor unto the Lord.
A sweet savor unto the Lord. A food sacrifice, an oblation, is how we share a meal with the Lord. It's an ancient custom. Let's go back to the Remembrance of Enoch. We are in chapter 14, verse 14. So on this day, Icar's day, Zion ate what Enoch said, right? Let's keep reading.
In the first holy day to be celebrated by the righteous of the earth, thus began with the joyous anticipation of the people, being a comfort to their dearly beloved Enoch said. And when he worried that his children came under the distress of one, and all the people rejoiced, and they called it the celebration of Icar. And it was essential that the righteous have great determination to see that all was done in order and with clarity.
You can go to the celebration of Icar Day in our Enoch's True Calendar playlist. You can also go to the episode titled Establishing Yod in this series, where you can read about Icar there and how he was taught by Moses to plant seeds for food. Before that time, it was unknown in the earth how to plant, right? Read the last part of verse 15.
And it was essential that the righteous have great determination to see that all was done in order and with clarity.
It was essential that the righteous have great determination to see that all was done in order and with clarity. Decency and order, right? Let the holy day be in order, and the intention of all actions performed clear. That was what Moses instructed. We got to remember that. That's what I'm talking about when we got repentances, right? So we starting from now, ordering ourselves for Icar's Day. That's what these 7 weeks are for, to order ourselves, both physically and spiritually, right? For that day. Because that's what Moses said to do. We got to remember that preparation is part of the holy day. Preparation is part of every Sabbath, right? Verse 16.
And it came to pass that because of these things, a very great thing began to transpire in the land of Maim for every man, woman, and child found, that they could know and feel both the joys and burdens of Enoch said, who is their Father in heaven, and they could participate in acts of companionship to comfort him. And it can be seen that because of these things, all of the people of Maim, starting at an early age, began to grow to be very close to Enoch said, and much tenderness of heart toward him was known in all of their lives. And Enoch said knew that he was fully loved by them, and that is not all, for the nature of his personality was before them in all of their daily walk, and the power of it influenced their behavior toward one another, and loving kindness abounded.
Because loving kindness was his nature. Loving kindness is the nature of the Most High. That's how it will be for us in these last days. That is what this information is building us up to. This book of Remembrance of Enoch is showing us what spirit we need to be in to be able to dwell in communities that are righteous, like Enoch's third high priest community was. Because the people of Maim, ancient Zion, started following the true calendar. Righteousness began to abound, overflow. Y'all see the importance of the calendar. Salvation and redemption. That's what Moses is bringing us in these last days. Just like back then, the Lord is showing us the true character of the Most High. Enoch said, right? And as our mind is refined, the effect trickles down to our children. Enoch said it's a God of loving kindness. And they're going to be a people of loving kindness. Yeah. Verse 18.
Now understand that the righteous people of the city of Maim thought of the nature of Enoch said, who created all things to be exactly the same as one who would think of a little child, and they considered him to be wholly innocent and absent of any rancor, and they knew that he had no ill will, even for the very wicked.
I want us to read that again. This was the ancients' concept of God, and this concept comes directly from YASHAYA and Kava, Adam and Eve, who dwelt in Eden with the Most High. They had a credible outlook. Let's start verse 18 over.
Now understand that the righteous people of the city of Maine thought of the nature of Enoch, he said, who created all things to be exactly the same as one who would think of a little child, and they considered him to be wholly innocent and absent of any rancor, and they knew that he had no ill will, even for the very wicked.
And they knew that he had no ill will, even for the very wicked. Let's get a precept. We're going to 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9. Again, we're going to 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9. Baby, read that.
The Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long-suffering toward us, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance.
The Most High is long-suffering, right there with us, watching us do the wicked things we do, but he's patient, hoping we repent. That's how a child is, full of hope, right? But the Most High is super holy. For him to witness us live a life of sin is causing him to suffer. But he wishes not one person would perish. That's Jew or Gentile. We are back in the book of Remembrance of Enoch, man. I'm just showing y'all precepts to the true character of the Most High. That's in your Bible. But they hide it with this false character that they put on our Father and his Son, right? The Father wishes not that no one perish, right? But that we all repent, right? But we're back in the book of Remembrance of Enoch, chapter 14, verse 19. That's the book of Remembrance of Enoch, chapter 14, verse 19. Let's keep reading about how the ancients viewed Enoch, he said. Read.
And they saw Enoch, he said, to be holy and pure of heart, and utterly without the capacity to bring harm. And the righteous loved him with all of the gentle instincts that are given to mankind, which causes them to be drawn in their souls to love the helpless baby things of the earth.
That feeling we get around babies, right? Puppies, kittens, cubs. That's how the ancients viewed the Most High. Huh? I want y'all to picture that. But when we get up in the Israelite community, how do they have us picturing the Most High? I ain't knocking my brothers, because I used to try to teach people to view him the same way. How did I have people viewing the Most High? It wasn't that, right? Verse 20.
And compassion toward Enoch, he said, abounded. And to them, Enoch, he said, was the ultimate being of purity and the infinite wellspring of tender loving kindness. And they sorrow at any thought of his disappointment or despair. And there could never be a people who could know greater joy in the comfort and well-being of their Father.
They did things because they loved the Father, not because they feared the Father. They reverenced Enoch, he said. That's a mindset we have to have, y'all. Man, a tender, loving God. That's who we had as a Father, as a power. He created us to be a tender, loving people. Babylon has been stripping our nature for generations, family. Knowledge is power. When we know better, we can do better. Enoch said, I am loving kindness. That's what that means, right? Enoch said, I am loving kindness. That's what he told Moses. He didn't say Ahayah. He said Ahayah, he said, or Enoch, he said in the Aramaic, right? That would have cleared things up a lot, right? Why they want to take that out? We ain't even going to assume. They ain't want us to know about the loving kindness part of his name. They wanted us to think he was a vengeful God, a hateful God, right? Let's keep reading. Verse 21.
And it came to pass that in this way and by these means that the righteous of the earth were brought to be joined with the forces that brought into being of all creation. And Maine prospered and flourished, and the souls of the righteous were enlarged.
By the knowledge of the true calendar of Enoch. brought forth in that knowledge is brought forth, and the true knowledge of the true nature of the Most High God, Enoch said. So the calendar and the knowledge that Enoch said was loving kindness. The people of Ma'im were joined with the forces that brought to being all of creation. What? When they rocked in the calendar and understood that God was a God of loving kindness, they joined with the forces that brought to being all of creation? Come on, man. I want to join with that. The forces that brought to being all of creation. Wow. Verse 22.
And the wicked of Sennaseol were perplexed at the strength of the righteous.
Yeah, they were perplexed. The people of ancient Zion had supernatural protection on all fronts, y'all. Read.
And the earth was known to tremble with joy and gladness in her delight, to be whole in her soul once again. And the rocks in Eden were comforted as they beheld the children of men joining together with the holy host of heaven to be strengthened in their salvation.
All of creation is waiting for us to operate like this. To operate in communities where we are loving and kind to each other. Dwelling with the Erech Kodeshi. Dwelling with creation. Being taken care of by the Father. That is heaven on earth. But we've been discontinued from our spiritual heritage. So we don't even know it. Walking dead. The earth was happy. Ma'im was operating in righteousness. Rocks in Eden felt comfort. Why? Because they feel the stain of sin on them because of Semihaza. Remember, Semihaza was also a rock, one of their kind. So they were calling for Christ from the beginning to be a redeemer for them, because Semihaza kind of put a stain on their name. Get it? Verse 23.
And thus the division of days was a comfort to all of the hosts of Ebedel.
All the rocks were comforted by Enoch's true calendar. You see that? Read.
And all of the division of days came to be established before those who were born near the time of the day of instruction were grown to be married.
So by the time the babies who were born around the time Moses gave Enoch the calendar, when they were married, right, that's when the yearly calendar was fully established, right? That's what that's saying right there. So it took some time, but they did the hard work for us. So I pray it doesn't take us as long, right? But the babies that were born when they got that information, by the time they were married, that's when it was established. So, you know, that was 30, 40, a lot of years, you know what I'm saying? They were getting married a little later back then too, because they were living longer. You did. So it took them a while. Verse 24.
And it came to pass in the course of time, the wicked learned of the division of days that was observed among the righteous, and they heard tales of the substance of it, because the righteous could not anticipate evil.
The righteous back then could not anticipate evil. These righteous brothers and sisters of Enoch's time lived in righteous communities all their lives, y'all. The vast majority of them never knew wicked people. They never knew them. They never saw it. So they would tell holy things to whomever. You know what I'm saying? Just innocent, good, and vile people the same. They would just tell it, just spill all the beans, give all the business. Innocent mistakes, right? Read.
And while many among the wicked mocked, the men of the secret society of Seku listened with high interest.
Most of the wicked did not see the value in the information, but the secret society of Seku, right, the original Masonic order, right, they paid close attention because Semihaza was trying to learn through them, right? We're gonna learn about in on this channel. We're trying to learn the mysteries, right? And there's a way that the demons learn. It's the way that Semihaza learning is through us. He learns the plans of the Most High through us, through the people, through the righteous and the wicked, right? So they paid close attention because Semihaza was trying to learn through them, right? Let's read.
And they made their plans according to the evil whisperings of the spirit of Motsor to them.
See that? Read that again.
And they made their plans according to the evil whisperings of the spirit of Motsor to them.
Motsor is what Enoch said called Satan. Motsor, the decadent. The devil was the driver of the secret society of Seku. Remember, we say the same thing about the Masonic people. They tell you who they worship, right? Let's read.
And the prophecy given to Enoch that the wicked would not abide by the holiness of the division of days began to manifest itself. And the far-reaching effects of the wicked in this matter will yet come to be revealed.
We read about how the wicked attacked the division of days in our Enoch's True Calendar playlist. That episode is titled The New Year. We went into the book of Remembrance of Melchizedek. That wickedness was revealed there. Years after this account was shown to Benelim, right? So man, y'all stay tuned, man. Y'all get these books, man. Stuff deep, heavy, man. Yeah, this verse 26.
And it came to pass that Enoch and Edni, after having the great satisfaction of being a part of these joys, took their journey eastward with the intent to go to rest a while in the borders of the land of the country of the people of Milu.
Look, Enoch, Edni, they were trying to chill, y'all. Relax a little while. Enoch had been putting in work. I can just imagine what Edni was doing, other than being a wife and a mother. In the first book of Ashi saw that Edni had a ministry of kindness, so she was doing the work as well. The wife of a high priest is not a Cadillac job. Enoch told Kavah, Eve, that Yasaka and Adam, the first high priest, could accomplish or could not accomplish his task without her. He couldn't do it. So Kava put in work. We read about it in this series as well. So I believe Edni was putting work as well. So they were about to go on a young vacation, right? They deserve it, all that divine they've been doing. Let's read verse 27.
And as they traveled together, they approached to ascend up into the high country, and the mountains of the east lay before them in the misty heights. And the broad plains of the land of Enoch were to be seen to their west. And they were able to go together in their old age, because their duties toward their children were ended. And they went hand in hand, and their joy and their rich companionship was full.
Man, husband and wife, right? They older this time. At this time, they older. They've grown together. The Lord has taught them things, taught them about the sanctity of marriage. They've grown together. You feel me? They learn the value of each other. They experience things to each other. Enoch learned powerful things because of his wife. Y'all don't forget that. He was able to put a protection on all of the righteous because of his wife. Their marriage was powerful, huh? Husband and wife. They done raised all their children. They can do this now. Just dip and be together. It's going to be a long time before we can do that, baby. Right, verse 28.
And the serenity of the presence of the Holy Spirit went with them. And as they looked to begin their ascent, they were on a high plain before great cliffs of rock to their east. And they turned themselves to cast their eyes over all the regions of Main that surrounded the Aral Sea. And they could see the light of the sun setting, dancing upon the waters of the sea. And they thought upon their joys in the establishment of Main, and upon the greatness of all that which the Lord had accomplished for the righteous. And as they pondered their happiness in these things, the stillness was broken by a cry, and the sound of it seemed to come from everywhere, and it pierced them to their very center. And they looked about to see from whence it came. And the sound of the cry resounded off the high rocks of the east, and they both were filled with alarm. And they listened intently, and they both prayed and asked the Lord to help them to understand the words and the meaning of the cry.
So they on their journey, y'all, full of the Spirit still, full of peace and serenity. And they hear a cry, but they don't see nothing. What did they do? What we should do. They prayed for understanding. Verse 30.
And when it came again, they both knew that it was the earth who cried. And she said, my soul, my soul. And they both heard and understood the words. And Enoch and Edni wept together. And they bowed themselves to the earth, and they put their hands upon it to bring it comfort. And while they were on their knees, they cried out to the Lord for help to understand the meaning of the continuing cries of the earth.
Shabuwa, Shabuah family. Enoch and Edni had a deep relationship with their Kodeshi creation. They audibly heard the earth speaking to them. They both heard it. This is not unique to them. We can accomplish this too if we operate the way this book has shown. If we operate in the sanctity of marriage. If we operate in the power of godliness. If we operate in the loving kindness of Enoch, he said, we can connect to their Kodeshi creation. We can connect to creation in this way. So they asked the Lord again, why was the earth in such distress? Verse 31.
And it came to pass that as they did so, a figure from the south could be seen to be approaching, and it was Moses of the Lamb. And he walked as though he was burdened. And Enoch and Edni spoke to one another to wonder if he could hear the cries of the earth. And as the Lord approached, they sat quietly and waited to see what he would do. And the Lord approached, and he sat down before them, and he greeted them in kindness. And he spoke, and he said, the earth cries, for she despairs at the prospect of that which may befall her lovely ones. For there is a great calamity waiting to come to the creations of my Father. And the wicked are now approaching to discover all that is needed for them to establish themselves in such a way as to destroy all of the intentions of my Father in creation. And Motsor, the decadent, is instructing them day by day so that they may establish their own decrees of creation and thereby separate themselves from being dependent upon righteousness in the midst of creation. And they intend to utilize the element of wickedness among themselves to establish their lives, to have precedence over the truth of my Father.
Moses started off talking like an old Indian chief. He said the earth cries because of the drama that may come down on creation. Man, the wicked were successful. They were successful with what they were trying to do. Right? Look around. They were trying to make their own decrees of creation. Right? We talked about the 2 decrees of creation before in this series. The first decree of creation is that Enoch said can be a father to man in creation by the power of the intervention of the agency of his son, who is in the flesh as is all men, right? Christ is everything. He is the only way to the Father, right? The only way to the Father. The second decree of creation is that all the doings of creation and all the affairs of man's salvation must be done by man through the power of the intervention of their agency. That's what Enoch has been doing all throughout this series. He has been diligently seeking the Father on how to intelligently intervene with his agency to help bring salvation for mankind. Man must do it. So Moses just told Enoch and Edni that the wicked, through the directions of Satan, are trying to establish their own decrees of creation. Man, wicked has no bounds, right? Verse 34.
And upon hearing these things, Edni took the hand of Moses in both her hands, and she said, Lord, what must we do? And the Lord gained strength from her. And he said, the 2 of you must see to it that the righteous become prepared and informed so that they can perform a task for me.
Enoch and Edni needed to see to it that the righteous was prepared and informed so that they could perform a task. I want y'all to notice something as well too. Little nuggets. I like to just point out little nuggets. That's why we like to read it slow. I want y'all to notice that Moses came walking up burdened, right? Weighed down by the works of the devil, trying to harm his people, right? But when Edni jumped up and said, what do you need us to do? It said that he got a little bit more strength. It's showing us something when you look at that. When we do our works, when we do what we are called to do, when we spread the gospel, it's strengthening the Lord. He ain't just sitting up there just kicking on the throne where everything going on, just watching. Nah, he warned in the spirit. You remember Daniel? Remember he said he was fighting the host of Persia? Remember that? He warned in the spirit. So when we get up and pick up our cross, right? What it means. When we pick up our cross and we do our work, we strengthen Moses, right? Man, let's keep reading verse 35.
And Enoch replied, "Say on, Lord." And the Lord lifted his head as if he had found renewed determination. And he began to speak, and he said, "I shall instruct you 4 times as you walk in the way in order to prepare for a task. And before 4 years pass, you must abide in your strength to accomplish the matter. So I will give you your first instruction at this time. You have not known it, my children, but a fierce battle is transpiring on earth and in heaven. And it shall be known by your posterity as the first great war in heaven. And there are huge forces of righteousness assembled and at the ready to aid in the cause of Enoch," he said.
Okay, y'all. It's deep. Moses has let Enoch know that unbeknownst to him, like he ain't even know it, that there's been a great war in heaven, right? Moses, who is Christ, just told Enoch and Edni that there are huge forces of righteousness ready to aid in the cause for Enoch, he said, right? Notice it. I want y'all to notice again. When Enoch jumped in and said that he was ready to help Moses, Moses got even more strength. Man, we stood up stronger. And it's showing those nuggets, showing how what we do in the physical affects the spiritual, right? Let's keep reading.
And there are strong and determined forces of wickedness also at the ready to subdue all that is holy. And all of the inhabitants of the earth and even all of the living souls in creation are to be affected by that which may come of this war.
All the living souls in creation will be affected by this war in heaven. Remember, Paul said we war not against flesh and blood, but principalities. Yeah, let's get that precept. We're going to Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. Read.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places.
This is part of what Paul was talking about back to the book of Remembrance of Enoch, chapter 14, verse 38, right? Verse 38, read.
Now understand that at this time, both the righteous and the wicked are set on a course to be able to establish firmly who is the object of creation. And it shall either be mankind or the Dekadarshi. And we have arrived at this place because the nature of my Father is such that his gift of agency rests to be immovable in all the far reaches of his abode.
The reason why the wicked even have this opportunity is because of the gift the Most High gave all creation. It's the gift of agency, the power to choose. Choose today who you will serve, right? Start verse 39 over.
And we have arrived at this place because the nature of my Father is such that his gift of agency rests to be immovable in all the far reaches of his abode. And at this time, the wicked are dependent upon righteousness, and their lives are dependent upon the truth. And wickedness can neither originate nor create anything. And the forces of evil in sin and Sheol are loath to depend upon goodness in order for them to participate in the decrees of creation.
Yeah, they were mad. But how was they going to change that? See, remember he said they working on changing the order of creation, and it's starting to work. It's starting to work. That's why he's calling Enoch and Edni to a task. So how was they going to change what the Lord was trying to set in stone? Verse 41.
And their intention is to divide the earth in order to establish themselves to be independent of the truth in creation, so that they may be able to create souls according to their desires. And they have been able in the past to join together in this matter. They will be approaching to accomplish it even now. And had they been able in the past to join together in this matter, they would be approaching to accomplish it even now. But there is one who has arisen among them who has the skill to band them together.
Bedeline in the footnotes tells us that this person who has got the skill to bring this group of people together, his name is Kohath. Kohath is the creator of the secret society of Sekou, your first Masonic order, for lack of a better term, right? Before Kohath, the wicked couldn't agree enough to become such a spiritual threat, right? But Kohath has the skill to band the wicked together. Read.
And his intention to divide the earth in such a way as to cause evil to stand to be independent, to act for itself in the midst of creation.
Over the generations, the wicked have been learning to misuse element. Remember, element is creation. All things in creation. There's a righteous way to use things, and the wicked use the righteous things backwards, right? They flip the meaning of things. That's witchcraft. We've been learning it over generations. That's what they do in witchcraft. Well, that's the unrighteous use of element, right? Over the generations, the wicked has been learning to misuse element. That's what is labeled as witchcraft. It sounds like this is what Kohath was trying to implement, right? Because the Lord want to do this, right? He want to set it in stone for it to go like this. He's trying to do the exact opposite. The Lord wanted it based on truth. He wanted it to be based on outside of the truth, so they can make the truth whatever they want it to be. They truth. They can walk in their truth, right? Verse 43.
And the cries of the earth that you have heard is the earth in her mourning, because this day he has set his hand to begin to prepare the wicked to accomplish all of these things. But be comforted, my lovely ones, for the righteous have also been prepared, and now stand ready to commence their great acts of righteousness to come to the aid of my Father. And I will tell you of the preparation on both sides of the war that is taking place.
There is a war. There is a war the powers of darkness are waging on the righteous. And all through this series, the Lord has been giving us spiritual defense mechanisms to help aid us. Y'all listen close to this, y'all. Verse 44.
Up until now, I have asked you to make 4 divisions in the midst of creation. And those divisions have drawn the righteous and holy souls in creation to a place where they can affirm the great decrees of creation.
So everything Enoch has done thus far, dividing the sons of heaven, dividing the waters, dividing the sons of men, according to the sanctity of marriage, and dividing the days of the calendar, right? Those 4 things have lined up to set up the world righteously using the two decrees of creation, right? So doing those things means something. These divisions were for a reason, right? Let's keep reading.
But by these same divisions and the direction they have been taken by the wicked, they too stand prepared by them to enlarge their rebellion, to bring it to a fulfillment.
You see, but Satan is a worthy adversary. So he rolled with the punches. He rolled with the punches of those divisions to set himself and his wicked minions in a position to use the 2 decrees of creation for his benefit. Satan is diligent, y'all. Remember, he's a roaring lion, just walking around, seeing who he can devour. He looking for information, y'all. He know, man, look, odds are stacked against him. You don't think he's fighting hard? So he rolled with the punches. Every division was meant to knock the Decadarchi off their pivot, and it hurt him every time it hurt him. But he rolled with the punches, so now he's in position to use this for his own personal gain, right? This is Moses Christ speaking to Enoch and Edni. Let's read verse 45.
First, all of the sons of heaven were divided and given a name. Those who are holy, who are called the Kadeshi, use their names to glorify and serve my Father in all his purposes in creation. And the evil ones, who are called the Decadarchi, use their names to perform every evil pursuit of wickedness and rebellion. And the both of them are well satisfied with their names and with the station which they have chosen in this division.
We read about that division in this series in the episode titled Dividing the Sons of Heaven. Fire episode, man. It said everyone was happy with their stations. Kodeshi loved being Kodeshi, and Decadarchi just loved being Decadarchi. Wicked, right? Verse 47.
Secondly, when the waters were divided to either be bitter or sweet, both the righteous and the wicked accepted the task that this division gave them. Accordingly, the sons of heaven moved out and flowed down like living water toward establishing the city of holiness, to bless and uplift and tenderly strengthen all of the children of the righteous in their instincts to love my Father. But the wicked fallen ones moved out and spilled their filthiness over in their determination to fight against the conscience of man.
Their attempt to what?
in their determination to fight against the conscience of man.
Y'all see that? They're trying to fight against our conscience. They're trying to skew what's right and wrong, right? Let's keep reading. In fact, start verse 49 over.
But the wicked fallen ones moved out and spilled their filthiness over in their determination to fight against the consciousness of man, to know right from wrong and good from evil. And their intent is to seduce all of the children of men so that they may rule over them.
We also read about that division in the episode Dividing the Sons of Heaven. Yeah? Verse 50.
And thirdly, when the sons of men were divided according to the sanctity of marriage, those who are holy take great delight to identify and lay hold of the loved ones of Enoch, he said. And they set themselves to love him and tenderly support them in their love for one another, and to stand firm in their virtue of the sanctity of marriage. But those who are in the shadow of darkness took delight in fornication and in the bondage of lust. And they gladly set out to see to it that the sons of men were seduced into ways of corruption and decadence.
We just recently went through that division in our 4-part Sanctity of Marriage series a few episodes back in this series, right? Verse 52.
And lastly, now that the division of days has been established, the righteous will use their holy days to come from my Father, and to magnify faith in the earth, and to enlarge their association with the pathway back to Eden.
The division of days, the calendar, the holy days comfort the Father and magnifies faith. But watch what it does. It also enlarges our association with the pathway back to Eden. Verse 53.
But the wicked will use their days and how they have divided them to find opportunity to expand deceit. And they intend to cause their evil to grow to dominate the world.
Read verse 53 again.
But the wicked will use their days and how they have divided them to find opportunity to expand deceit. And they intend to cause their evil to grow to dominate the world.
Ain't that the truth? Isn't that what their Christmas does? Their Easter, their Halloween? What about these Passovers done in the wrong spirit? It's the enemy's division of days, and there's a reason they came, or that they gave them to us, right? Verse 54.
And they will see to it that their division of days will result in their being able to find dominance over their fellows. And for the first time the earth will know the poor, and the poor of the earth shall mourn in their bondage.
This is what them going against the calendar is empowering them to do. It's a false power, but they are doing this thing with this false power nonetheless. Verse 55.
And the Lord said, I will instruct you further, my children, to also know that along with the effect of these 4 divisions which you have accomplished at my word, the first great 70 was completed with the return to Eden by your first parents. It was completed among both the righteous and the wicked on that day.
The first great 70 was completed the day Yatsakad and Kava, Adam and Eve, went back to Eden. After that, all righteousness and wickedness was established, right? Now we say there's nothing new under the sun, right? They did all the wickedness in the first 7 generations, y'all. All the righteousness is already done already. Feel me? We trying to rediscover those ancient ways of righteousness. The wicked trying to rediscover those ancient ways of wickedness. Real talk. Verse 56.
And because of this, the wicked have also come to their fullness in establishing their own division of days in their religion. And they have clarified their intentions fully for a way of life, drawing upon the type of 70 that was transpired in their midst. For they celebrate the covenant of Cain made with Semihazah, and the invention of knives by Lamech, and the establishment of the secret society of Seku by Kohath. And they celebrated the beginning of tribute and slavery, which marked the beginning of nations. And they celebrate the birthday of the Nephilim, delivered by Zillah.
That sounds like Christmas right there. Read.
And they mark the day to show the satisfaction of possessions with much pride and boisterousness. And they had their day of the new year coinciding with the phases of the moon.
Read that again.
And they had their day of the new year coinciding with the phases of the moon.
One more time for the Israelites in the back.
And they had their day of the new year coinciding with the phases of the moon.
That's what the wicked did. Wow. Verse 57.
And because of all these things, the wicked have now come to be in a position to challenge the two great decrees of creation that were declared in Eden by the intervention of their agency. And the loving kindness of my Father is so great that he will not assert himself to forbid his children from denying him and his purposes in creation. And should the one who has arisen succeed, the decrees of creation that come from Motzor the decadent may be set in place upon the earth. But be calm in your souls, because the righteous also have been wisely prepared to affirm the decrees of creation of my Father, and to establish them to be immovable until the end of days, at which time they must be reestablished in the face of wickedness that shall arise in that day.
Agency. Agency. We got the power to choose. He ain't gonna make you eat the cake anime. You can choose. You can choose which way you gonna go. Right? Yeah, the Decadarchi, which is the name of the fallen watchers, were trying to do a sneak attack and use the two decrees of creation to establish some madness. But Moses said, don't trip, be calm, because the righteous has also been prepared diligently to accomplish the plans of righteousness. Right? Even us getting this information right now is the Moses diligently preparing us for the plans of righteousness. Verse 60.
And I say to you now that the best way for the righteous to establish this affirmation of the decrees of creation is to divide the earth. And the Lord ended his speaking for a moment. And it came to pass that Enoch and Edni pondered these things. And after a moment, Enoch said, Please, O Lord, teach me now how you intend for us to divide the earth. And the Lord said, Remember well all that which I will tell you. And the three of them drew close together in their speaking as they sat upon the ground, as if to guard against being heard.
Oh, man. Verse 62.
And the Lord said,
Wait. Moses is about to get him like the scoop. You see how they all huddled around? Like he about to give him the scoop. So whatever it is, he gonna give us the scoop too. All praises. Verse 62.
And the Lord said, You are to partition the dwelling places of all the sons of heaven in creation. And all of the watchers of holiness who are called the Kadeshi are to be stationed in a high standing upon the heights and in the midst of the light of Enoch, he said. And they are to be assigned to all of the pleasant and lovely places upon the hills to dwell. And their abode shall be upon all of the lofty places in the light upon the earth. And their glory is to be made manifest on the surface of all of the beautiful valleys of my abode. And they are to spread themselves out upon the plain. And they are to be a mantle of loveliness to cover both the land and the sky with their grace. And all of the watchers who have fallen into filthiness, who are called the Decadarchi, are to be given a place of low degree in the darkness of the depths of the earth. And they are to be assigned to all of the lovely and barren and barren and forsaken places of the earth, because they are despicable before my eyes. And they are to be locked up like a prison house in every place where their voices cannot be heard by the lovely ones of my Father.
Moses first is telling Enoch how to divide the dwelling places of the watchers. This also precedes with first Enoch, when the Lord told Enoch that the fallen watchers will be bound up, Asael buried and put in chains. Y'all remember that? Yeah, verse 65.
And you are to assign all of the Kadeshi their proper tasks to speak to the objects of creation for Enoch, he said.
Whoa, now y'all pay attention to that last instruction. Start verse 65 over.
And you are to assign all of the Kadeshi to their proper tasks to speak to the objects of creation for Enoch, he said.
Who are the objects of creation? Mankind, us. The Lord told Enoch to assign all of their Kodeshi their proper task to speak to us. For Enoch, he said, creation is trying to speak to us every day, family. We say it on here all the time, creation is alive. And creation was put here to serve us if we're righteous. This is Christ, most of the Lamb, speaking to Enoch and Edni, instructing them on how to divide the earth. Start verse 65 over.
And you are to assign all of the Erkadeshi their proper tasks to speak to the objects of creation, for Enoch said. And they will speak great and wondrous things for him, and for his son, and for the righteous. And you shall instruct them in the manner of that which they will say, to all those who grope to find their way. And they shall speak words of tender guidance and instruction to all of the tender-hearted who mourn.
Our ecosystem, family. It's a must we really get to know our ecosystem. Our ecosystem has righteous information for us. This series has been preparing us to start to reach and have a relationship with their Kodeshi. That tree walk by so that tree that we walk by so often that grabs our attention. That tree that you walk by so often that grabs your attention. You don't know why that tree wants to get to know you, huh? You don't know why that tree wants to get to know you. The clouds, they are alive too. What's that language? We already speak to them, we just don't know it. But if we search, we will find, huh? Our ecosystem has information for us. When we got married, right? That's what the sanctity of marriage is. The husband, the wife, and most of the lamb. And the Aaron Kodeshi. An intimate, rich bond between mankind and creation, right? Verse 66.
And you shall remind the Erkadeshi to keep themselves in the way of understanding and in the way of truth that has been established by your first parents and by all of the righteous during the first great 70.
The Kodeshi know the original way. The more we form a relationship with them, the more wisdom they will impart to us. This is what the Lord was guiding Enoch to instruct the Kodeshi. The mysteries. Old Native American chiefs, they understood that creation was alive. They understood that they needed to have a relationship with their ecosystem. This is why. This is our spiritual heritage, Israel. This is the world's spiritual heritage. Israel, we are supposed to bring the world back to this way. Shabuah. Huh? Shabuah. This, the awakening, that Kwam Yashala right here. This is what we're supposed to do. Huh? Verse 67.
And you are to divide the earth into 4 quarters. And you are to firmly establish and put in place the 4 directions based upon the manner of language the Erkadeshi are to speak, and also in support of their behavior, as they emulate the loving kindness of my Father.
So first, Enoch is to divide the earth into 4 quarters, north, south, east, west, right? So there's a certain type of language the Kodeshi will speak, and a certain type of behavior they will display according to the direction they are dealing with. All these signs from the Kodeshi are a reflection of the loving kindness of the Father. They are meant to help us, not discourage us, right? It's deep. We're going to learn. There's a lot we got to learn about creation and how they speaking to us. Verse 68.
And you are to assign certain among the Erkadeshi to be obedient to the men of service. And there shall be some among the watchers of holiness who shall be designated by them to speak their words from their directions that bring the power and the presence of Enoch said to his children. And it must be done in such a way that their instruction will be clear, so that nothing can stay them in their speaking.
The men of service have the ability to instruct their Kodeshi in righteousness. Their Kodeshi can be instructed. Their Kodeshi can be instructed to speak from their directions. So the directions have a certain language, and the men of service can clearly direct. It's deep. It might sound like Japanese the first time we read it, but we gonna get it. There's a power that we have with creation that we've been discontinued from. Verse 69.
And you are to establish the conditions whereby their voices can be heralded into the souls of men, and that which they shall speak will be for the edification and deliverance of the souls of the righteous. and that which they shall speak will preserve and protect the righteous in every circumstance according to the diligence with which these instructions are acted upon.
So Enoch is going to establish certain conditions. Remember that word, y'all. Conditions, right? Moses told Enoch to establish conditions involving their Kodeshi, meant to speak to the souls of men, our souls, right? These conditions are meant to edify and deliver us. Verse 70.
And you are to ascribe to each of the four directions rich meaning that speaks of the Son of my Father, and because of the man, their messages will contain a fullness of the majesty of the presence of the one who is called Enoch, he said.
This is a huge assignment. So each direction is going to have a meaning that speaks of Christ. And because of that message of Christ, the message will contain a fullness of the presence of the one who was called Enoch, he said. I am loving kindness. Right? This is what Enoch is establishing for our ecosystem to bring to us. It's interesting. We ain't even scratching the surface, yo. But this is another protection that the Father has put in the fabric of creation for us. We don't even know it, right? Verse 71.
And there shall be no instruction for the Decadarchi, nor will there be any assigned task given to them, either to act or to speak. And there shall be no manner or friendly interaction allotted to them by the righteous forever.
We ain't supposed to fool with the Decadarchi, y'all. But what does that look like today? What did that look like in the ancient times? The Decadarchi, what were they back then? What are they now? Semihasa was a piece of meteorite. But now these elements have been broken down into other things. Now Decadarchi is in almost everything. Cars, TV, cell phones, airplanes, radios, computers, pacemakers, hearing aids. They're all Decadarchi. The Lord is going to lead us to righteousness if we seek it, though. So the Decadarchi were given no instructions, y'all. The righteous was not to deal with them. That's what it said right there. Verse 72.
And in all of these things, the names of the Erekadeshi shall be beautiful and glorious, and the names of the Decadarchi shall be putrid and shameful and ugly.
Man, the Lord don't got no business with the Decadarchi, dude. He ain't feeling them at all. Verse 73.
And all of the names of the Erekadeshi shall signify to the righteous the grandeur and delightfulness of the nature of the personality of Enoch, he said. But the names of the Decadarchi will only reflect the vanity and shame and violent disregard for goodness, which they have clothed themselves. For they have surrounded themselves with filthiness before their God, El.
Before their God who?
Before their God, El.
Before their God, El. Again, this is Moses speaking to Enoch and Edni. Christ said the God of the Decadarchi, the fallen watchers, is El. Let's keep reading. Verse 75.
And it will come to pass that because of all of these things which are a part of the division of the earth, that springs out of the view of creation, found in the souls of your first parents' authority, and finality will issue forth out of the decrees of creation, which will be honored by my Father to establish the truth of their view of creation in Eden.
These things were how YASHAYA and Kava saw things. This is how they saw the directions in Eden. This is how they interacted with the Erech Kodeshi in Eden. Now Enoch was going to use the two decrees of creation to establish it in the earth forever. Verse 76.
And that truth will be independent, for it needs no other impetus to act. Other than that, it exists in harmony with the desires of Enoch, he said. And remember, it came into being before evil entered to come into the world.
So what does that mean, that the truth of the directions is independent? Read.
And it is in this way that the truth will become a living soul, to be independent and to act for itself in the midst of creation.
So, like the calendar, directions and all that pertain to them are a living soul, going through creation, giving understanding to the righteous. Verse 78.
And this truth will shine forth from the face of my Father, and it cannot be easily subdued. And the light of that very truth will act to uphold the righteous and sustain them in the midst of adversity, insomuch that the ignorance of the violent will be confounded. And the truth will heal and protect them and nourish them with everlasting joy. And they shall have eternal tranquility in the presence of Enoch, he said, and their souls will be bound together with the man.
These directions Enoch is being called to establish is about to be a force for the righteous. No, Satan doesn't want this information out there, family. Some of us is going to try this information by the Spirit. Verse 80.
And it is in the division of days, which has now come to be established, that can complete the preparedness of the righteous to act to divide the earth. And it is also the division of days among the wicked that will prepare them to anticipate, that they are also able to venture forth to divide the earth, to cause their lives to act independently from the truth.
The calendar is heavy, family. Do y'all see why we went into the calendar so heavy in the beginning of this discussion? Because the spiritual benefits brought by this next division was prepared by the knowledge of the calendar. The calendar connects us to the Most High. The false calendar has the wicked believing a lie. In this account, again, this is Christ talking to Enoch and Edni about the wicked right here. Read verse 81.
And their desire is to cast off the yoke of the truth and the restraints of the created order in their relationships with one another, which brings them shame and guilt in their fornications and wickedness.
The wicked desire to throw away the straight path the truth brings, y'all. And the righteous barriers the created order brings to the world. If they throw away the order of relationships, listen to what we are reading. When they throw away the created order, like the roles of men and women, an order of marriage, now one can commit sins and fornications and all types of wickedness and not feel guilt, right? Look at the world today. Verse 82.
And I beheld with Urim that after the Lord had said these things, it was dark, and Enoch and Edni had fallen asleep upon the leaves of the ground. And in the morning when they awoke, their first thoughts were to wonder if it was a dream. But after conferring together, they immediately abandoned their journey to rest in the east, and they set out to return to Maim. And all of that which the Lord had spoken lay heavily upon their hearts.
That's where we're going to stop for tonight, family. They woke up wondering if what they had experienced the night before with Moses was a dream. But they both remembered it. So that ain't no dream. That's a wrap. They canceled. Their vacation was canceled. You know what I'm saying? Duty calls. Dividing the earth. Y'all, that was just part one, family. Very interesting episode. We really got to get a good look at the importance of the calendar. Enoch's true calendar. We found out that the truth is a living entity. So yeah, the truth is always going to come to the light. You dig what I'm saying? There are Kodeshi. In this Dividing the Earth series, Enoch is establishing how the Erech Kodeshi will be a voice of Enoch, he said, and Motza to the righteous. We are meant to have an intimate relationship with creation, with Erech Kodeshi, right? They speak to us all day, every day. They reprove us, encourage us, enlighten us, warn us, support us. Y'all, they love us. So let's practice, family. Let's start simple. What kind of tree is that in your front yard, Kenfo? Ahayah, Ahayah. What kind of tree is that in front of your apartment? Is it an oak tree, a maple tree, an elm tree? Is it healthy? Ask it. You ain't got to tell nobody. Don't worry about looking crazy. You ain't got to tell nobody. But that tree wants to get to know you, Ahayah. They want to get to know you. What kind of bird visits that tree? Blue jays, cardinals, pigeons. What about that squirrel in the tree? I bet you that squirrel appreciates that tree. Fill with your ecosystem, family. Begin the journey of finding Christ in that tree. Man, y'all, we're gonna chill right there. As always, we pray this message was for somebody. Our praise to Kahi, which is the Holy Spirit, the Ruach Kadas, which gives us our CHAAKAMAWATH. Our praises to Enoch, he said. That's our praises to the great I am loving kindness. Ahayah, he said. Our praises to Most of the Lamb. That's our Savior. Yash. Remember, family, we gotta love the Most High with all our mind, all our heart, and all our might, and to love our brothers and sisters like the Most High loves them. See them like the Father sees them, and hear them like the Father hears them. Feel for them like the Father feels for them. It's your boy Peezee and beautiful Ari Amunah. RealJudah. Lego.
RealJudah.
One day he will reign, yeah. That's my Savior. One day he will reign, yeah. That's my Savior. One day he will reign.
Savior, that's my YASHAYA 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 Savior, that's my deliverer.
Sinner rejoice with the fact that he came, delivering many from torment and flame. I'm here to explain, there's no other name of what we are saying. Through the fire test, it's so deep within, purge out the lead. God forbid we take a step to resurrection in vain through a lack of self-reflect. Crash dummy, what we call it when you're ready. It's not the truth, but you even try to check it. Call a Christian now, but can't take correct. Sure of me, I'm unsure of your election. Come for me and find you made the wrong selection. Persecution evident for my subjection. Stand alone, for I fought a fear reject. Convert your souls through the law and reap perfection. One day he will reign, yeah. That's my Savior. One day he will reign, yeah. That's my Savior. One day he will reign.
Savior, that's my YASHAYA 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 Savior, that's my deliverer.
Hang on every word, every red letter. I go and tell my people, but a few consider. I'm hating for your words now. I'm a quench to the thirst now. Praises to Ahayah, they see you through my words now. My Yasha, I see through imposters. I hear no Selassie, but I pray I make your roster. I know you died for me, gave up your life for me. Me in the pen left for broke, but you made it right for me. They blind, they read the old and can't see you in it. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, all three seen you in it. That's that fire, that furnace of affliction. The sword to fight against demons, that sickness, lust, or addiction. The way, the truth, the life, the only way to the Father. The whole time you knew the price, but you still went to the slaughter for adulterous people. Still he was wounded for our transgressions, but through his stripes we are healed. I say, Yasha, please take the wheel. I'm unworthy, you love me still. Through a little knowledge of you is how the most is revealed. My message to non-messianics and pagans, it's the same. It's repent and repent quickly, because
one day he will reign, yeah. That's my Savior. One day he will reign, yeah. That's my Savior. One day he will reign.
that's my deliverer.